Good afternoon, everyone. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Gebbie, President of Evolving Solutions, and I am happy to have you joining us here for our Top Technology Investments webinar for 2023. Joined with me today is Michael Downs, our Chief Technology Officer. Michael and I will be tag teaming here on some of the content today. I know we have several folks on the call that are current clients of Evolving Solutions, and we also have some newer folks that are new to Evolving Solutions. So just a refresher for our current clients. Thank you for being here and for your business. And if you're new to Evolving Solutions, just a little bit of an overview. We are a technology solutions provider, really focused on clients' core enterprise technology environments. We like to say we're focused on the automation and modernization of those technologies. And you'll hear a little bit more about that today as we talk about modern operations and as we talk about some of the trends. And most of these trends, most of how we talked with clients around how they operate technology, it's really irregardless of where they are running applications, workloads, et cetera, whether it's on-prem, whether it's hosted or in a public cloud, whether it's in a hybrid environment. We all need to operate technology in a similar fashion, no matter where that data is at. So we help clients with that. And we are all about end user experience in our clients. So we focus on client-centric mentality of how we deliver technology, how we deliver our services amongst our team. So we work with clients across the United States and in a few other countries as well. So we are fortunate to work with clients from across multiple industries. And again, if you're a current client, we really do appreciate your time and your business. If we want to go to the next slide, I thought we would start off the discussion, right? We're talking today about what we see in the industry, but to take a step back and give a little bit of perspective on some market trends and some data of where we're seeing our clients going, where we're seeing some of our technology vendors going and investing. Obviously, there's a lot of economic uncertainty in the world right now. We're seeing big changes with big tech companies. We're seeing changes in other industries. However, for those of you that are on this call and that are really interested and involved in the technology space, I think there's some positive trends in our industry here this year. By all accounts, GDP growth will be low to stagnant to low growth here this year, anywhere from 1.5% to 2.5%, depending on who you talk to. But the trend in the forecast is that spending on digital technology and technology transformation will grow at a much higher rate than our GDP growth. And I think the reason for this, if we all, I can't wait to start a presentation eventually without talking about COVID and the pandemic. But if we all think back 2 or 3 years ago, where we all had to change so rapidly at the beginning of the pandemic, and a lot of our organizations and a lot of our clients did things in a matter of months, weeks, and days that they thought would take weeks, months, and years in a lot of cases. And so that transformation and that acceleration of that technology investment really showed people what was possible. Those that invested and doubled down at the beginning of the pandemic generally fared better and came out of the pandemic better. So I think we're going to see that here in 2023 with the economic uncertainty. Those that are investing that are going to come out in a much stronger position. As we look in the middle section there, where are people going to invest? There is still a lot of technology debt, technical debt that is out there. And organizations have got to start addressing it, one, because of the cost and the exorbitant amount of financial resources that it's taking to just operate day to day versus spending on transformation. And then two, the amount of issues that are out there with technical talent, right? It's not getting any easier to find smart, talented individuals like many of you that are on this call. And so if organizations don't address the level of technical debt, they're going to run out of time with money, and they're going to run out of people time. And that really leads us to the third section here as well. We all see the challenges that there is in our industry with finding great technical talent. I think a lot of people thought that'll eventually get better after COVID, but there's a lesser known fact that here in about 2025, 2026, the admission rate for colleges, or the number of students, I should say, going to university in the next 4 to 5 years is going to fall off of a cliff. Think back what happened, 15, 18 years ago with the last recession. birth rates declined. We're going to start seeing that here as students go into college in the next couple of years. There's not as many people. So the technical challenges or the staffing challenges that we all have, they're not going to get any better in the next 2 years, and they're certainly not going to get better in the next many years after that. So how do we continue to focus on modernizing how we operate, and how do we figure out on leveraging automation to take remedial things or things that people shouldn't be worried about, so that we have an opportunity to have our teams really focus on what's important. And so with that as the backdrop, let's get into what we see for 2023, and let's get into how we really talk with our clients around how they can focus on modernizing how they're operating their technology environments. So Michael, why don't you take us through our notion of modern operations and really what that means, and help set the stage for where we're going here in the next handful of 20 minutes or so.
All right, will do. Thank you, Bo. And thank you all for joining us today. I really appreciate it. So modern operations is the idea that it's the responsibility of the IT organization to ensure that the business gets the value out of their IT investments. Now, that may sound a little odd to some of you. We oftentimes think about the developers or about the business as the ones that are generating the value. But over and over again, we've seen this trend where developers will build something great and it'll launch into production and it's not available, or it's not secure, or it doesn't perform the way that it's expected. Not investing in those capabilities on a regular basis is what ultimately means that the business didn't get the value out of their technology innovation that they wanted to, that they intended to. We really believe that there are 4 key areas to help be successful with that. Really a 5th, which is platforms. You've got to be on a platform in order to be successful, and choosing that platform carefully is one of the important trends we'll talk about in a minute. But surrounding that are these capabilities that are required to be able to deliver the resilience, the reliability, the scalability, the security that you need in order to be able to get value back to the business. Data access and connectivity is really about making sure the right people can get to the right things. We're in a world now without a data center and firewalls. That castle and moat that many of us in technology were used to for decades is gone. We're using services from third-party clouds. We're using SaaS providers. We're integrating microservices across a variety of platforms in order to be able to deliver that innovation. So making sure those things are connected, talking to each other well, and they're only accessed by the appropriate people is a key focus area of this data and access and connectivity space. Pipelines and automation is all about making sure that we're delivering value in an automated, easy to consume way. One of the core principles behind modern operations is that it has to be developer friendly. In order to be able to deliver this core platform that delivers value to the business, a developer has to be able to consume it easily. So when they're writing their code, when they're launching their new innovation, it can't be extra effort outside of their process to be able to make it secure, or to be able to protect the data, or to be able to build observability into it. It has to be built into the way they do work. And that's what pipelines and automation is all about. This continuous integration, continuous delivery we see today is driving a new way of looking at the way operational technology works. Automation is also critical, and we'll talk about this in more detail as we go along as well. Data protection has probably the most changed and the most transformed by public cloud and hybrid cloud of any of these areas. We all think about data protection as, backup to tape, being able to make replicas. Maybe we're moving on to recovering in cloud, but as many organizations have also found and moved ahead in their innovation, the resilience that data protection delivers is now being oftentimes delivered in software. The way that you build your microservices, the way they talk to each other, the capabilities that are built into your composite applications are actually responsible partly for delivering the resilience. Protecting that has taken on a whole new dimension that has to be considered as we're delivering this operational value to our clients. And finally, one of the areas that are often overlooked is observability. A lot of times this was talked about as monitoring, and it was oftentimes a nice to have. We talked about how long does it take for you to get to an issue resolution? How much time do you spend in war rooms? That conversation has drastically changed in a hybrid cloud microservices environment. Observability is really about what's the value your business applications and workflows are delivering back to your business and your customers, understanding how it's working, understanding what the value is, and in these very complex systems, having an automated, instrumented way to deliver those things and be able to get insight into them is critical. So all of this really leads us into the investment areas that we need to talk about for 2023. And the first one of these is really about hybrid cloud platform evolution and the things that you need to think about as you're progressing your hybrid cloud journey. A very interesting trend has taken place, and Bo mentioned it before, and I too will be happy when we don't start a presentation talking about the pandemic. One of the things that happened, though, is there was a lot of investment that went into public cloud for a lot of reasons. Some of it was supply chain related, some of it was capacity related, some of it was the need to adapt and build new infrastructure capabilities or application capabilities quickly. What happened quickly was that the cost of that started to, which was acceptable during the pandemic, became more and more visible to our organizations, and they had to make choices around what the right choice, what the right platform was in a different way. And really understanding the value of your workload and what value it's delivering back to the business has never been more important. And we're seeing a lot of repatriation of workloads coming back out of cloud into private cloud. I read an article the other day about a cloud native company that actually was moving what was a microservices application out of the cloud and back into a data center. They're actually buying colo space in order to be able to do this. They'd never owned a data center before. Why? Because when growth was literally exponential for them, that growth, that elasticity of a public cloud was a huge asset. Once steady state started, it becomes very clear very quickly that being able to run that inside of your own organization is oftentimes much cheaper and a much more efficient way to do this. We've spent decades understanding and building out our capabilities around running data centers, and it's a well understood and well optimized practice. So making sure that you've made the right choice for the kind of work that you're doing, whether it's public or private or a blend, and it's almost always a blend now. Even on-premise workloads are often taking advantage of SaaS data sources or other kinds of external workloads. So making those choices properly and investing the right way has never been more important. And all of that stuff really leads to another major trend, which is managing that complexity. In order to be able to manage this complexity across all of these different platforms, internally, externally, consuming third-party services, automation is absolutely critical. I talked earlier about pipelines and automation being the way that we allow a developer to easily consume our infrastructure, the operational capabilities that we've built. That continues to be more and more true, but it goes beyond that. As soon as an application is split out, delivering services from maybe a legacy database in your data center to a third-party data source being delivered through SaaS, to a logon or authentication or purchasing capability delivered by a third-party provider that you might be calling through a RESTful API, being able to make all those things work together and being able to make change that doesn't break things requires a level of automation that is much more important. If you can't build these operational resources, these capabilities in a way that can't be consumed by developers easily or through low-code tools, it's going to have a hard time delivering value back to clients. One of the other things that we've seen that becomes a next trend out of automation is being able to make those choices because of the complexity of the environment requires investments in artificial intelligence. And AI has become this very significant trend for our businesses, but it's also a major trend for our operational organizations. And if you want to go to the next slide for me, Kelly, really AI is there to take all of this complex information, take your complex environment and begin to gather insight about it. A lot of times businesses have AI initiatives, they've hired data scientists and so on to be able to get value out of their business data. For us, for our operations team, for the IT organizations, leveraging AI that's built into many vendors' tools and is really emerging as a new frontier for delivering value in the AI, in the operations space, is becoming more and more and more important. And so I oftentimes think that one of the, we talk about many of the cloud providers, one of the advantages that the cloud providers have over a traditional IT organization is simply that they have all of this operational data. They can start to make inference about it because they've pulled it together, and they can observe what the next logical things are that they might want to offer to their clients to simplify their experience. That's a huge asset, whether they know what's on those workloads or not. Seeing patterns and being able to find those things that are otherwise not discoverable by just looking at the data requires an AI engine. And that piece is becoming a critical consideration as you look at tools. I'm not suggesting that an IT organization should build its own data lake or build its own machine learning farm, although in some cases that might be the right choice. But understand how AI is built into the tools and into the processes and procedures that you implement so that you can take advantage of that really powerful capability. And in order for AI to work, I talked a lot about gathering all this information. So there's another capability that we talk about is observability. All of this data is out in the environment. It's very complex. Being able to gather and understand that data and be able to pull it into a central place from a variety of different sources is how we make the decisions about it. So if you want to go to the next slide for me, Kelly. Observability is really this ability to know where things are, pull it together, and make inference that allows you to make good choices, whether that's pulling in the data so that you can feed an automation process so that you can automatically remediate an issue, or so that you can add capacity, pulling it into someplace so that you can see how users are using your service, using your capabilities, how you're interacting with your clients, how a high value user like a doctor or a route driver is experiencing their interaction with their technology, and whether they're efficient requires a level of observability and insight that's really critical. So really understanding real user experience, understanding what's happening inside of a complex system that you can't always see all the parts of. I talked before about being able to use data and services from outside providers who don't provide you the insight into how it's happening inside of their API or inside of their data. Observability has to be able to take those things into consideration so you can look at the whole and make good choices about your content. The other thing that has happened as a result of all of this digitization of our workflow and our work and our processes is when we were passing memos around between desks instead of sending emails, we didn't have to worry too much about somebody forging or changing the email. We're now in a world where not only are we not inside of our data center that we can control, but we have actors and parties, participants to our applications that live outside of our control as well in this digital world. And so the next investment that we're really looking at is this idea of zero trust. And I'm going to have Bo jump on and talk a little bit about the zero trust space.
Yeah, and Michael, I think it's a perfect next topic, especially as you talk about observability, right? I mean, a lot of folks think observability or monitoring, it's the old school way of infrastructure or maybe cloud monitoring, but observability takes on many fashions from, you mentioned, end user experience. But then how does that translate as well over into the security space? And so people may see zero trust here and say, well, we've already talked about this. We know this. I would tell you most organizations we see, even if they're on a zero trust journey, if you will, haven't gone far enough. And zero trust is absolutely critical at this point of, and everybody knows the notion of this, right? Trust no one, trust nothing, don't trust anything, anyone at any time. But where we are in this hybrid world, I'm sitting in our headquarters in Minneapolis right now. Michael's in his home right now. Many of you are at home or on the road. We have no physical limitations anymore for where we work and how we get work done. And we have to secure that as an enterprise. A lot of clients and organizations are on this journey, have started implementing tools or processes around this. But if you look at that middle bullet there, I think this is probably one of the most critical things that we could talk about. There is still such a siloed division in many companies, many organizations, between the networking organizations, the security organizations, and they're often not working together, and especially as it relates to zero trust. And those barriers have got to be eliminated for this truly to be effective, because you have to take an enterprise-wide view. And so I think as we look at 2023 and as we look at where we're seeing a lot of clients and organizations investing, a lot of people are thinking about how we do this differently. We can't do it the old way in our siloed environments. And then the other part of this, and you're seeing a common theme throughout the trends here today, automation is absolutely key to this. As we look at, call it zero trust, or call it how you do security and cybersecurity, ransomware protection, all of the things that go into that, how you do that today, there are too many alerts, too many notifications, not relevant enough data for any one person or any team to take action on. Automation is key so that we get the right data or the right alerts or the right errors or the right items to take action on to the right people at the right time before somebody does damage to our organization and our environments. And then integration into existing process and existing tools is also key to this, right? For so long, security has been, we say it's all encompassing, but security has often been an island in organizations. We need that, not only the mindset to be integrated, but also the tools, the process, the user identities, all of those things to be integrated throughout so that it's a seamless process, seamless experience. One, to protect the enterprise, and two, to not make it any harder for your end users to do their jobs, because we often know that the weakest link in security is the individuals, and it's our own employees in some cases. So how do we just integrate it into their process, their tools, so they don't have to do anything different, and they're not, it's not cumbersome to them to complete their work. And then as we move into the last of the six here, Michael mentioned earlier, some people think about data protection like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been doing backup and recovery, right? But in the new world, as we look at, a lot of clients still have massive investments in data centers, and that's going to continue. A lot of organizations have massive public cloud environments. A lot of clients or organizations have outsourced or have hosting providers. Everybody has SaaS. I don't know if there's a company that doesn't have SaaS, applications out there supporting their business. How we protect that data, how we protect the business has evolved and has changed. But I will tell you, we often see that how organizations are thinking about this has not evolved to where it needs to be. So in the world that we're in, we're also in a highly regulatory world. So whether you're only based in the United States or whether you have operations around the world, it is now to the point where, depending on industry, this has started within financial services, we're seeing it in healthcare, so many more regulations, so many more restrictions, so many more penalties. And often that could be jobs, that could be people going to jail, that could be financial penalties. And it varies by state in a lot of cases throughout the United States, and it obviously varies by countries and the EU, for example. So how do you keep up with all that? Having a robust data protection strategy, solution set, integrated throughout the enterprise is absolutely critical. And it's not just protecting, the data that's in your environment, whatever that looks like, on-prem, cloud, et cetera, but it's the data about your environment. It's the access to that data. And then is it really integrated into how you operate technology, or is it, we're kind of focused on this, we don't have a lot of money to spend, or we only want to spend this much? We can no longer operate that way. And if any of you or your organizations that you support have gone through cyber insurance renewals here in the last couple of years, you're seeing what's now required. And so as we talk about zero trust and we talk about data protection, it's no longer can we afford it. You cannot afford to not do it effectively. And might sound like a broken record here, but on that last bullet point, automation is key. There are too many environments, too many tools, too many processes, too many workflows, too many applications, and not enough people to really hone in on this. So how do you automate the process, the remediation, the access, and the integration into the overall security posture of the organization? It's absolutely critical. This is not your father's backup and recovery, if you will. It's how we protect our data and our enterprises as much as we can with the dollars that we have available, right? There's never a 100% guarantee, but how do we get to the right risk posture as an organization to make sure we're as protected as we're comfortable with as a company, as an entity? So as we go to the next slide and we kind of look at all these together, they're not mutually exclusive, right? And you might look at some of these and say, hey, we're well on our automation journey. We're really just starting, or we haven't even started on our AI ML journey. This is an evolution. These are going to continue to be focus areas for many years to come. But as Michael talked about modern operations, we're going to continue to see how we transact, how we compute, how we deliver. It's going to continue to evolve. As we have less access to awesome, talented people, automation is going to become even more critical to our enterprises, free up the time for our individuals to do what matters most. AI also augments that automatic, it is critical to where we're going. And you might say, we have a lot of global enterprises that are on this call. We might have a lot of commercial enterprises on this call. AI, no matter the size of entity, it's going to be very relevant to you in 2023 and beyond. It's going to continue to be built into software, into infrastructure, into cloud environments. How do you take those capabilities that other people are developing and put them to use for your business to be more competitive? Managing that end-to-end experience through observability, really focus on the end user experience to make sure that you're delivering that not only for your end user external clients, but really for your internal employees and teammates as well. Making sure it's secure, making sure it's protected so that the companies, that our organizations have the right risk posture for our tolerance. All of these things are going to be very critical here in 2023. As we talk about where organizations are investing, these are going to be a lot of those areas. I know many of you probably have plans on those around these areas. So Michael's and I offer to you is, if you have questions, if you agree with these, don't agree with them, want to debate them, want to ask questions about them, want to whiteboard about them, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll send an email out after with our emails. We'll get you set up with our teams. But we would love to understand where you are on these journeys and how we can help you as you move forward in 2023 and beyond. So again, for those of you that are current clients, thank you. For those of you that are new to us and are just starting a relationship with Evolving Solutions, thank you for taking the time as well.